Today I'm going to show you how to make an apple fritter cake. This recipe comes to us from our friends at King Arthur Baking. Their products, their flour, oh my gosh, I use so much King Arthur flour, some of the best you can buy. I'll share with you what they had to say about this apple fritter cake. In the spirit of your local donut shop, we've packed generous layers of cinnamon-scented sweetened apples into and on top of this rich vanilla coffee cake. It's a breakfast feast for fall or any other season. So the first thing we're going to do is, in a medium bowl, we're going to whisk together the brown sugar, cinnamon, and flour. So in our medium bowl, we're going to add 1/2 cup or 107 grams of light brown sugar. One and a half teaspoons of ground cinnamon. 1 and 1/2 teaspoons. And 1 teaspoon of King Arthur unbleached all-purpose flour. I think we should have broken up the brown sugar a little bit before we tossed it in, but that's what fingers are for. We want to make sure we get all the lumps out. There we go. Next, we need 4 full cups or 452 grams of diced apples. Today I'm using Honeycrisp apples. I have 2 of those and 1 Granny Smith to give it a little extra tang. What's the best way to dice an apple? I don't know. Once we get these all nice and diced, we'll put them on the scale and make sure that we get 452 grams. Uh-oh, a little bit over. That means I'm gonna have to eat the rest. Yummy. Add the diced apples to the brown sugar, cinnamon, and flour and stir to coat. Let's get these beautiful diced apples stirred and coated. Smells so good already. So that's the filling and the topping. Next, to make the cake in a large bowl, combine the flour, baking powder, sugar, salt, and spice. Today I'm using King Arthur self-rising flour, so the baking powder is already in there. But if you wanted to just use all-purpose flour, that works just fine too. So here we go with 270 grams of King Arthur unbleached all-purpose flour, actually 270 grams of King Arthur self-rising flour, because that's what I have in the pantry today and I need to use it up. So, flour, since I'm using self-rising flour, I don't need the 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, but if you just have all-purpose flour, then add to your all-purpose flour 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. You'll need that to help it rise and get fluffy. Also, sugar. 3/4 cups or 149 grams of granulated sugar. 1 teaspoon of table salt. I like to use fine sea salt for my baking. The table salt is what King Arthur says to use. That's great. And the spice. This recipe says you can use either nutmeg or allspice, but I am going to use allspice because I like it. 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. Makes the magic happen. Today we are making magic. Are you going to make magic along with me? I love baking. I hope you do too. Let's whisk this yumminess together, all the dry ingredients first. Add the butter and mix until the mixture is sandy looking. It's 12 tablespoons or 170 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature. There's 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter in 1 stick, so we have 1.5 sticks. I love cooking with butter. The yumminess of it all. Here we go. Boom! We'll see how much of this we can keep in the bowl. This is where the messy happens. 1 stick and a half of room temperature unsalted butter, and I've got half of the flour coming out of the bowl already. Mix until the mixture is sandy looking. Beat in the eggs one at a time, scraping the bowl between additions as needed. So we have 3 large eggs, room temperature. What I like to do is just whisk them up a little bit first, and then I'll add them in 3 portions to start making this creamy batter. There we go. So, 1, 2, and 3 large eggs. 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. 1, 2, and 3/4 cup or 170 grams of milk at room temperature. Okay, we're ready to assemble the cake. To assemble the cake, spread half the batter, about 465 grams, into the prepared pan. We have a pretty standard loaf pan here, which I've buttered and put parchment paper. We have our handy dandy kitchen scale. Let's zero that out. About 465 grams of batter into the prepared pan. $230, $415, $450, $469. That should do it. Spoon half of the apple mixture, about 285 grams, over the batter and press it in lightly. These apples have been sitting in the cinnamon and they have some nice juice working. About 285. Pressing the apples into the batter. Spread the remaining batter over the apples and spoon the remaining apples on top. Let's smooth that out real nice and even, keeping the parchment paper in place. And the remaining apples. This is going to be an amazing cake. just like so. Bake the cake for 65 to 75 minutes for a tea loaf pan, or 60 to 65 minutes if you're using an 8-inch square. The cake is done when a paring knife inserted in the center comes out clean. Removed from the oven and cool for 30 minutes. 30 minutes before gently tipping it out of the pan and onto a rack to cool completely. Okay, my friends. This is what we got. Out of the oven. And we let it cool for a little while. Final step. To make the glaze, combine the glaze ingredients, stirring until smooth. Drizzle over the cooled cake. So I'm going to fluff it up a bit with a fork here. That's my 3/4 cup, or 85 grams of confection sugar. To this we want to add 1.5 to 3 tablespoons of milk. Use more milk to create a thin, almost translucent glaze that's characteristic of fritters. Use less milk if you want to drizzle the glaze. We're going to go in with 1 beautiful tablespoonful of milk. And now we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Don't go for the imitation stuff, folks. Go for the pure. All right, we've got a thick paste, almost a putty. So that means a little more milk. That's about a 1/2 tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. Drizzle over the cooled cake. And we'll see how this goes. Good. There it is, apple fritter cake. Thank you, King Arthur. You've definitely got to try this for yourself. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. King Arthur apple fritter cake. Please leave comments below. Be sure to click the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more amazing baking adventures. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.